testing, I'm recording, and we should get your video working. I will go ahead and do the start, and you just kind of come and go, and I will wait until you get back. Does that sound good?
Sure.
And even if we fail, we'll just use audio on your end.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll just click video, see if it.
Blue dots rotating. We have the blue dots. Almost. Okay, here we are. Kick this rascal off. Howdy, 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 ho. We do a high quality, I don't know, you can call it podcast you want, it's just chatting. We talk. We talk in public. I'm not afraid of it either. You can come to my house, I'll talk to you personally, or I'll talk in public, dang it. We're wild men. Once a week, we get together, talk about tech articles. I have a Discord. The Discord will be in the QR code you'll see in a minute. Click on that QR code, go to Discord. You're welcome to join. Everybody's welcome. It is a room where folks should know how to program and know how to develop computer programs, because we try to look at the links. The links are from the last week in terms of, hey, how does it affect developing technology? How do teams work together? How's coding looking? All of that. This week, it's me. We have John Kern. I don't know if he's going to be the camera or not. We're having problems, but I will go ahead and kick this off. Anyway, see what happens with him. If he doesn't get on camera, we'll just do audio. But we're definitely doing this. Fear not, my friend. Okay. So, humbity. First thing we talk about is, what have you been doing this week? Well, it's been an exciting week for me. Last week I spent an hour or two, maybe 20 minutes. Spent a little bit of time with Grok doing some vibe coding, and I was both really impressed and really quite fearful that I was getting kind of. I think the tool's amazingly productive, and it's also amazingly deceptive, and that's a weird combination. And so I kind of let it go for a while. Then I thought again, I think, gosh, I need to take this further to see how Grok's going to do. And I probably spent, I don't know, 6, 8 hours. I got you, John. You're there, my friend. I probably spent, I'm just talking about what I did this past week. Spent 6 or 8 hours, probably, with Grok. And we'll talk about that in a second. But so, yeah, I did a lot of grokking. How about you, John? What you up to?
Oh yeah, doing some coding and doing a little bit of looking into how to make some kind of a AI type RAG type thing, but only briefly. So, and then the new season of Wednesday's out, but kind of fell asleep while we tried to watch the first episode. So
yeah, it's on. Is that season 3 that's on?
Two. Only season 2, I think.
It's just sad how they kind of fall apart. I started a good series. God, I can't think of the name of it now. We'll get to it later. But season 1, great season. Oh, it's the Britannia, about the Romans invading Britain. It's like historical fiction. And freaking season 1 was awesome. Great topic. You can do a lot with the Celts and Romans and stuff. Season 2 was okay, maybe, and then I'm starting season 3 going, why am I here? Why? So it's not good. Are you okay with us discussing some coding?
Yeah, I have your GitHub thing up.
Okay, let me bring up my GitHub here.
History.
So Tim Ottinger suggested that I do a lot of micro commits to sort of track how things are going, and that's what I did. I tried to track my conversation as I did this vibe coding. And I have some pieces here I'll discuss. I need to go, actually have a screen for coding, which is right here. Ooh, and it's actually working, which is really also cool.
Nice. Yeah.
I just got to find the code window now. Where are you, code window?
Yeah, that window looks good for me.
Yeah. Yeah, what a journey that was. Oh my God. As you can see with my source control, I don't know, 15 commits or something. It's a lot. So, and so I got about 4 or 5 commits in, and I know up to about 10, and I had to start over. And the reason I started over was Grok was doing what I wanted to do in a way that I wasn't comfortable with. And the reason I knew I wasn't comfortable with, I was going to have to refactor it to add some more stuff on. And I'm like, no, the code's excellent. The speed's great. The lookups are awesome. But no, I wouldn't really do that. That's not the way I would do this or that. And I can give you some examples that return the result. A templated object, a parameterized class back from a function, which is like success, fail, is one thing, and then next to it's the thing you asked for. That's really cool if I were like calling external functions. But every function I call can't have success, fail, because that just ain't gonna work. So it was a great idea. It just took it too far.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? So first, I think I should bring up the README.
Yeah, it's usually that's where I started.
Yeah.
Trying to see what is it that you're
just testing it, just to do a standard, pipe some stuff in, pipe some stuff out. I don't care, whatever, right? And I chose a jagged string array separated by tabs as my input-output, and it had Grok made up a bunch of random data.
Yeah, it would be like if you cut and paste out of a PDF file, you get weird random strings.
Yeah, you could do PDF or whatever. So
yeah.
I finally realized at hour 6 or 7 that this project actually does nothing by design. And so really the goal of this project is not to do a damn thing. I want a framework for a project. It doesn't matter what happens inside there. I just have one thing I want to do, and that's it. I want you to act like cat or act like DR. So just take that thing, send it right back to me. Let me pipe it in. Let me ask for help. Let me pass some command line options, just normal stuff you would do with any sort of command line utility. So it does nothing. And I figure, if I can get it to do nothing, then I can actually use it as a project template and add on to that later. So that was the general plan. I'm glad I started doing a prompt history because it kept going and going. Of course, we're not going to read all this, but I want to kind of give you an idea. I did a restart here.
Yeah, I got through to the point where it looked like you were doing the second go and the restart and things like that. Yeah. Are you cutting and pasting, and does it actually say think and think?
So if I'm really interested, I can go back and look at it in detail. Okay, so architecture's a mess. Reset is on line 27.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And I've been pasting in my text, Grok's response, my text, Grok response. Of course, the code is just in the code, and I check it in. So I ask a question, check it in, Grok gives me an answer, check that in, then I start smoke testing. And I found out that Grok runs ahead of me fairly quickly because it can generate code about a bazillion times faster than I can smoke test. Which is fine. I expected that, but what that means is I can maybe have 10 smoke tests, get to smoke test number 7, and number 1 fail, and me not know it unless I go back through. So every time I ask a question, I got to smoke the whole thing. I can't, there's no progressive enhancement here, which is what you expect in a smoke test, but gee, that seems a lot like TDD. It is smoke testing afterwards, and the reason that's relevant here is because the goal here is for the function never to fail. And so whatever I'm typing in, if it fails, throws an error, crashes the OS, I need to reproduce that with a smoke test. And I thought that maybe I would get to the point where I'd have some really complex line, grep something centered around, and it would be I would be so happy and show people. Did not make it that far. So when I did reset, starting on line 29, I sent this whole here. I want you to do this, like that, like this and that. Basically, what I just said. I want an F# script file that runs as a command line command in both DOS and Bash. Think of cat. Actually, just think of cat because it just takes the file, sends it right back out. It looks like cat. I'm happy. And so, this says very interesting. And Grok is so eager to please. A bunch of stuff, and it came back and all this stuff. It thought for 2 minutes, and when it came back, and here's how it thought. We won't go over that. Debugged it, Yeah, so I put it in. I run a simple test. Oh boy. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. First off, Grok doesn't know which the file names are because I'm not uploading the project. I'm just asking for a command and a test command. I
Mm-hmm.
have two files. The thing that I want to do and a thing the way to test that. With the idea eventually being that the smoke test would be hard coded into the test thing. So I was like, no, you're not going to, what the files are. So identify, tell Grok what the file names are for each of the files. It is part 2 FSX and part 2 test FSX. And this part 1 was when I did the first architecture. And so it remembered that all the way through. Very cool. I could refer to that from this point on out, and it remembered where I was. And so I gave it some, what I got here? Yeah, I got a compiler error about namespaces. And then I had another error that generated no output at all. And I said, hey, Grok, what up? Oh, very happy to run away. Minute, 20 seconds. Investigating script issues, reticulating spline, launching rockets, or whatever. Gave me some code back. And now it works under Bash with no compiler warnings. Okay, good, because I would not expect there to be any compiler warnings here, because if there's a warning, something's not kosher. But still, no output under DOS. And I just told it, hey, you got 2 errors, fix those. And I say, hey, look, Grok, I'm still smoke testing this first file. Seems to work under Bash, no compiler warnings, but no output under DOS. Can I use DOS pipes just like I'm over in Bash? And it went away again, a minute and a half. I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. You use the type command and pipe it, not the cat command.
Uh-huh.
So blah, 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 blah. The X gives me an example. I like that. And so I run both scripts, and they seem to work under default conditions. And once I used that phrase, I realized, yeah. yeah, I've been here before. This is starting to sound very, very familiar. The test script, however, seemed to think that the incoming stream file is the test. It's just jagged array. It's not a stream of tests coming in. It's a string of whatever. Everything's just a jagged array. So you can't fail testing a jagged array because there's nothing for you to do. So tell you what, Grok, just hard code 6 tests over there in the test file. And just take the incoming thing and send it back out like you do. And just run those 6 tests. I'll put the code in later. Okay. And also we had the...
Yeah, sometimes I've done that where even though I know I want to read from a file, I'll just throw, like a blob of text that is going to be like the file, just smaller. Sorry, screw it. Just digest this. It's right in line in the test.
And
Later I'll
it's
do the file.
You could actually use, if you could do data-driven testing where you send like a cucumber file or features file and actually have it test that way. That could be a direction it goes. And so, so think. I complained that, ask you for that. Come back after 19 seconds. So one thing I found was, if you let Grok design the code as it goes along, it's much quicker to find answers to your question than it has to go through fresh code and figure out what's going on. Now, I thought that was kind of a good catch. So if you set up a framework using Grok, somehow it's more than Grok than your own stuff. So you can save a little time, maybe have it work better. Matter of fact, I think I'm concerned I didn't do it without using Grok, which is really weird. If Grok's doing it, I know where I can find where the mistake is. If I'm doing it and I complain to Grok, it's just going to fix the thing I'm complaining about. Does that make sense? So, hey, here's this code, it doesn't add the numbers right. It'll fix the don't add the numbers right, and the rest of it still be there, or make the rest of it broken. And it's in a mess of code that could be an issue. If the code's TDD'd well and it's got unit tests, regression tests, not so much. But something tells me that this code that most people are going to be making is not going to be any of those things. So yeah, I think I would rather have Grok start from scratch and just continue to Grok it. And so what I plan on doing now, if I can get to the point where I like this, I'll make this a project template. And when I actually write real projects, I'll bring the Grok code in as a template, and I'll sit my stuff on top, and then it'll only be the new stuff I've added. So that's kind of the general plan. And using the new stuff I've added, it limits the amount of stuff Grok has to debug at one time. I'm not asking it to go through the entire file and parse it.
Right.
So that I can just add, I could write like a little function, sort numbers or whatever, drop it into this pre-existing thing, and everything else is fine. And I don't worry,
And you,
which is a completely
might
different
even,
thing than having 10,000 lines of code that you're trying to fix a method somewhere.
right. You might even be able to tell it that's your intent once you're happy with it and say, you know, I like this. I'd love to turn it kind of into a template. And do you have any suggested changes?
Yes, sir. That is way cool. It's very eager to agree. So you have whatever you ask it. I've been conversational with it because it's like, you know, hey, if you're going to pretend to be a human, I'm going to pretend to be your argument.
Right.
And it's very friendly, easy to get along with. It reminded me of, like, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. First time I offshored work, back in the 90s, I think. And we hired a couple guys. I think they were in India. Smart guys, great resumes, eager to please, would agree with whatever my suggestions were. I could correct them if they were wrong. They were happy. And we didn't get a damn thing done. There's nothing wrong with them. They're very smart. I don't think they were, I don't think I was being cheated. It's just without a very, very, very clear understanding of what I want. Doesn't matter how smart the other guy is.
Yeah, it was really funny. I luckily learned that. This was between 95 and 98, early on, working, building IBM's next generation manufacturing execution system, and kind of doing some early work with just a handful of us, architecting and getting the requirements from the different factories and, getting a little pressure from IBM. Come on, you got to start building, Hang on. Well, I got like 20 people, like H-1B visas. I'm gonna bring them. I said, fine, you bring them. I'm putting them in that room over there. We're not ready. We need to establish a pattern before the masses arrive.
Sure. Yeah.
And start making mayhem.
Mythical Man Month. You don't throw people.
Right. And so early on, I remember explaining something to a couple guys, Mahesh and somebody else, and a little bit of here's the model, here's the features, da da da. You understand, and yeah, they understand, and then it went off, and I looked, maybe a day or two later, and I'm like, oh, you clearly didn't understand. You clearly, and it took, I don't know how long it took me. I finally realized that they're really nice, super sweet people. Do not, the exact opposite of the Russians. When I work with them, they tell you, no, John, that's stupid. Oh, yeah, good point. Or let's argue about it.
Sure.
Because it's not about you or me. It's about getting the right job done.
Yeah.
And then it appeared to me, my best guess was the Indians just wanted to be more polite and didn't want to say no to like an authority figure. So then I learned not to ask questions that the answer might be no. So, because that's, it's exactly, I didn't let it persist long, like what you're saying.
It's like when you've got a radio, the old like shortwave, you're trying to tune into the station. You've got to adjust the way you transmit and just to get right in with that culture, that person, and that seems to happen much quicker when you're there side by side.
True, we were literally side by side. That's a great point. Yep. But anyway, a little side.
So yeah, so I really don't think you fixed this problem of making Grok like even smarter. I don't think Grok 5 or Super Duper Grok or it's a communication issue amongst people who mean well and are trying to do the good job, given their culture and backgrounds and all that. It's not just that's a dummy. No, it's not. You cannot train the person out of this. They probably could deal with somebody who understood the way they spoke and culture very, very effectively. But that wasn't me at that time. That's kind of the way Grok reminds us. Grok does what I ask it to do. It does it well many times. It's generated a heck of more code than I could. But, the code I ask it for isn't always the code I wanted. And it will never, ever go, well, wait a minute, you said blah, blah, blah back here. Now you're saying this other thing.
Right.
So it just keeps going. Yeah.
That is interesting because it would be like a little bit of confrontation is part of collaboration, you know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
keep
do
an eye.
this, and you're actually contradicting yourself from yesterday.
Right.
Grok would never ever do that. It would just say, okay, you're trying to do that, we'll go do that. And it may logically be impossible to do both at the same time, and you would never know.
Yeah. Huh.
You're just going to play whack-a-mole. Let me go down a
Yeah.
couple more here, because it was an interesting journey. So I went back and started smoke testing from Bash. Hey, maybe I wasn't clear. I'm thinking about putting Grok on a remedial program. I don't know, maybe it's like 4A, you know, and the test, both these scripts be able to pipe to the other one. Since all we're doing is making jagged string arrays, comes from here, goes there, comes from there, goes here, should be fine. They should work together seamlessly. And the errors from the tests, or the errors that happen in the code, should go to standard error and not the standard in and out pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So think. This time, 2.5
Wow.
months again.
You stumped it.
Yeah, that was a good one. So it's got the gave you -I-O for input output files. Very cool. Yeah. So then I tried the simple one. I just sent the test text to the main code, and I sent the result of that to the test code, which should be fine, which is right here on line 188. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
Bash went, and it says, oh, the value constructor read lines is not defined. And it starts trying to help me. So we're back to scoping again. I'm like, all right, so.
Yeah, because read lines has been working all along, I'm sure.
Working all along, yeah. So somehow we changed the scope of the function, but Grok didn't know it. So we moved to another scope. I'm like, well, okay, I know how to fix this, but hey, it's Grok's code. Hey, Bubba. So do that back in Grok. Say, hey, these should all run without error because there should be nothing going on here. There should be no errors.
Right.
Send it a bad file, nothing. Send it a good file, it kicks it back. You know, I send it a file doesn't exist, it just doesn't do anything. I'm not asking for anything, really, honest. Maybe a help text. It looks at the error and goes blah, 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 looking around. And then, so I realized, and this is where it got really weird. I went back, it's like, okay, now it runs, yay. But it just kind of hangs there. So it's like I send the text to the first file, then I send the result to the second file. No errors, but nothing. Just
no output.
Return, nothing. And so I looked at it for a while, and finally I said, I bet it's waiting for console input. Hit Control Z. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Where did I ask you?
I don't want to do either console or the file, but not, so I just let that slide for a minute, I think. I said, if the strings are closed, the program should write their data. I told this, I'm telling Grok here, just what I told you, how to handle errors, how to handle text. No return failure, always should return 0. So, yeah, the scripts are meant to clean up shop. When they're done, I mean, if I send it a file, you do the file, you're done. If I don't send it a file, I'm sending it console stuff, you wait for you to hit Control Z or the pipe finishes, you're done. You just don't wait forever. And also, if the user picks help, just show the help first and then do whatever you do. That way, if they screw something else up, they can at least see the help file. And the help looks really nice in the code. I have yet to get the help to appear on the screen. But the code is like a bunch of what? Like each option explain an example usage of stuff that doesn't work. It's amazing.
That's funny.
So with that thought again, came back.
Where does it put the code? Like it just like you have to cut and paste it from the Grok.
Yeah,
like it's not.
I'll bring it up here.
Yeah, so it's not like integrated into the IDE.
No, I wanted to do it this way on purpose so it would be a sequential conversation.
Okay, I just double checking. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, because you could integrate it even quicker into the flow, and the same problems would be there, and you wouldn't really see them, which is a bug, not a feature. So, Grok, where you Grok? Here you go. I'm super grok. I'm not just grokking. I'm super grok. Okay. Oh, I got
Oh.
it. Hang on, I can put back over real quick. All right. So here's super grok history. Here's the history, and it a big hunk of stuff. And it started with ask for the data,
Mm-hmm.
and thought about it. Gives me the first file, which is this do something, and then it gives me the second file, which is test something. It gives it to me in little code blocks I can copy and paste.
Cool.
So every time I just select all delete over in the code IDE, paste whatever it sent in, check it in, and that way later on if I'm interested I can do a diff and figure out where it went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot here. And it gets just kept, the more I kept asking it the simple, and it, like I said, it does nothing. It just, the code kept getting bigger. I'm past that one K lock already. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. It saved me all sorts of time. I mean, I could, I could spend 2 weeks writing the same code that doesn't work.
Right.
So let me bring it back to the code. I want to show you this help thing because over here we got the part 1 FSX, and then it's gotten big. Yeah. And there's the help file. It's just
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's just wonderful. It does the usage options.
Nice.
It gives examples. Examples don't
Wow.
work. It gives examples. It's like it's there, but it's not there. It talks to you. It writes code, but there's no there. There's just not. It doesn't exist. So anyway, I talked to it some more, and yeah, I want to just call these from the command line. I don't have to type in this because it's asking me this .NET bash blah blah blah. Because .NET has to run first to process a script file. And I just want to type the thing in. Oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. And so it goes through, and yeah, I want to do this. I want to just type tests. Yeah, that's it. I'm actually right now doing type test into the program.net, which then runs the F# script compiler, which then runs the script, which is line 246 at the end.
Oh.
So it's like that's heck a lot of stuff I have to type in. I mean, I'm okay with typing in, but it seems like it's making it more complex than it needs to be. I should just be able to type text in the FS, part 2 and be done with it. Oh yeah, happy to help. So and it gives me a DOS command line. And it's like it says
could work.
Command files could work. Yeah. Oh wow.
It's about as confident as I
when
would.
we first enter a spot where I'm like going, why is there an @ sign next to that .net up here? I don't understand. Why would you have an @ sign?
Yeah.
In a script block. I could look it up. I don't know. Grok, you're on your own, bub.
Try it.
Like, what is this? There's like a percent sign in a star. What the hell's up with that? I don't know. But Grok says it'll work. It could work.
It could work. Right. It's,
We're doing this, Buff. Away we go.
yeah. Fire when ready. One's a wet spooler.
It has a wonderful little help system it gives me. It's like headings and how to use it, DOS, how to use it in Bash. It was just a thing of beauty. And I go back and no, it doesn't compile. It's just that we're back to not compiling again, okay?
What the heck?
It's 14 errors. And I'm looking at this going, okay, I'm not going to figure out which one it is because I've done this. I will throw it at Grok and have it do it. I forgot to paste this answer in. I said, yeah, that's pretty cool, Grok, but it doesn't work. For one, you messed up the indentation in the second script in the parse test lines function. I fixed it for you. Also, the command examples you give don't work. For example, in the git bash, when I type in this command, it creates a file but never writes anything to it. I mean, you did create an output file, but there's nothing in there. It also leaves the pipe open for the console input when I've clearly provided all the input I want with just the file.
Right.
Add -h to the end, I don't get the help file. I'm still getting help. I get the .NET help file, like how to use .NET. Like, no, I want the help for the thing I wrote. Okay, can't fix any of that. Now I'm starting to throw multiple. I'm like, it's just we're starting to snowball here. Think. 10 seconds. Does investigating, with the researching, analyzing command line behavior. I think it's better. If it had better graphics, I think it would be more entertaining.
That would be funny.
Redefining the code structure. So I looked at
Little
it and said, well, you
dinosaurs.
fixed part of it. Output text it now. You now write an output text. That is most awesome. I appreciate that. And the program stops when it's done. That's also quite handy.
Yeah.
But when I type in the option example you gave me, and this one right here, basically the point being here is that this is the example it gave me for using the help system. And it just called this with an input file, an output file, and -8 at the end. It's cool. So I'll use your example, type it in, and it gives me the .NET help example. I don't want the, and the reason why, John, you can probably figure this out, is .NET's the first command here, and it's applying the .NET to the option, and then you can parenthesize it out. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, maybe.
Bash coding. So I'm like, go fix that, Brock. 1 minute, 11 seconds. You analyze your request, processing splines, recalculating the time differential, blah, blah, blah. And that's, I believe, where we left it. And it's, I didn't have the patience to code it again. Help file probably still not working. Let me try this.
Yeah, because ideally you should be able to even just do your program -H with none of the input.
Yeah, and actually, here's a DOS prompt, and I can go. Can you see? You can see it.
Yep.
I can do a deer. Okay, cool. So I've got the test text. It gave me the thing to go, so I can go like, type test text, and type that to part 2. And now I have just a part 2 file with no extension, and it runs, I believe it's run under DOS. Yeah, it does run. Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted, is that code right there. I just want to do that in both environments. But if I put a -H, I don't know if it'll give me help or not. Let's see. Now
Gave you
we're back to how to run .NET help.
Yeah, maybe put it in quotes with the part 2. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can't. The thing is, I can fix all of this, but I know how to fix all of this.
But why didn't graph?
Yeah, we keep running into scoping issues where we change from one situation, like he's processing the text file for me to do blah, 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 and we change the namespace because we restructured the code. Well, that's a new context. And then now that read lines didn't work, right? So we fix the error I give it in, I guess, DOS, whatever. It doesn't look fixed yet, I guess. But now it doesn't run on the other thing. So it's like, I realized late this morning, I'm going to have to actually go in here and start recording all of my smoke tests. And then we'll need probably a dozen for DOS and a dozen for Bash. And I'm going to have to make sure it doesn't fix one thing and breaks out. Because if I don't know whether it runs or not. And that's doing nothing. That's doing nothing but taking a file. I love it. It is amazingly, seriously, it's amazingly productive. But the thing is you just like when you ask the question about physics or something, you just can't trust it. It's a little on the shifty, shady side. You got a great resume, but
I still like the could work. At least it's honest.
That stuff would come up with the DOS command with the persist stuff. It went out and found some stuff. It would have took me like half a day to Google, and that's amazing. That's really, really good work. I appreciate that, but I cannot believe that it's doing the things I asked it to do. All of them.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of progression as you learn to work with it. And a little bit of what it looks like is it introduces regression errors without knowing it, or just complete failures, like you said. Suddenly something is just busted.
So what I'm interested in, and when I did the reset, you remember I did this big hunk of text I said.
Right.
So is there a big hunk of text that you can use to start a project, or maybe write a whatever you want to do, that will cover all the bases you want to cover? And this is can I write the Word document big enough for the requirements of the programmer? I'm doing the same thing, except for I'm doing it with Grok. It amazes me, but I want to go through this workflow because it's like almost, but not quite. Just
It's another funny thing would be, hey Grok, ideally something, just like a conversationalist, something that's bugged me over the years is, sometimes trying to keep let's say two systems running. One's Windows and one's, ostensibly Linux or something like that. So you got the bash and you got the, or the bat files or the dot. Is there, I'm interested in creating a function that will run on both.
yes.
And then, now I don't know if you think there's, how would you like to approach that? It'd be interesting to say, should we just get it working for bash first and then see?
I know F# will run in both environments. No for fact. So the .NET compiler runs in both environments. Okay. I know I can take a function, character for character, copy it from one environment, put it in the other, it will run.
Okay.
So it is not under the hood anywhere. It's just interacting with the complexities of the OS, the streaming in and out, how to throw an error. It is all about the details that you wouldn't talk about. It would be really important if you were just starting, hey, I'd like you to do this website, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, Bubba, you got this, whether you know you got this or not. This also exists.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, would it have said, well, let's get it working properly in one system before we jump to make it work in the other?
That's my goal, actually. Since I know F# works perfectly from place to place, I can just lift and move. That's why I'm trying to do this shell here. Because if I get the shell working, the rest of it will work just fine. That's exactly why I'm doing it. So I can get the outside working with the OS, and then I won't have to screw with that anymore, and I can just lift and shift.
Doesn't matter where you run.
Now, I mean, I could do that now with the code I wrote that doesn't do the stream in and out and just like print hello or whatever, anything else. But by interacting with this stuff under the hood that has complexities, sound familiar to anybody here? By interacting with stuff that, I don't normally see or think about, and then we go on a little journey.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to do the Scoutmasters taking us deep in the woods.
Right. Yeah. Did Hansel leave enough breadcrumbs?
See, what gets me, and I think what really bothered me the most, I'm okay with it just loosely doing stuff because we need to test anyway. But what really bothered me is that once it started getting stuff wrong, like the read line code, we've got the scope is wrong, or the when it
indentation.
It didn't F#, the .NET with a help option escapes and goes back to, once it does that, it's quite easy for a junior programmer and even a senior. This is the way I would do it if I were a senior programmer, to spend the rest of the day trying to figure out what the hell's going on here.
Right.
And I have had both these errors in all my own coding, so I know these errors. I don't know the solution to the second one. But if I were a junior programmer and I were using Grok for answers, oh my God, how deep would you go? You'd go like a year just having discussions about it. It is endlessly complex and resourceful and agreeable, and it doesn't necessarily give you an answer. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say. So I had a problem with that indentation where it didn't compile, and I fixed it, and Grok fixed it. Well, the reason it was broken was Grok was using the indentation standards for F# version 7, not F# version 9.
Really? And that's a thing?
I
don't think that matters.
And so it went out and found examples.
Oh.
Example indentation.
Doesn't know better.
Yeah. Well, how would it know? So then you're like, well, how would you ever fix that? Like you release a new version of the underlying thing. How would it know that all the old versions were wrong and in which way they were wrong?
Yeah, that's just crazy. It's almost like it'd be a little bit like, well, I don't know, because it's often a setting in an IDE. Hey, how many you want to use, two spaces, three spaces, tab. Uh, what are your rules? So it's kind of crazy that Grok doesn't understand that the indentation is whatever it is in the file. Like it shouldn't matter that where I got the example.
So this is actually a good thing to talk about because here we got this parse test here, line 164 of the part 2 test. That's it. And this one of these failing. I think it actually restructured the whole code. Thank you. Wow, it's completely different than the way I wrote it last time. Good deal, right? So I'm not going to bring up the old version, but if you've ever coded in a white space sensitive language, it can drive you nuts, and you can miss the correct indentation because the compiler is keeping track of where your text is indentated instead of using braces for integrity.
Right.
And it's wonderful, but you get used to having errors that turn out to be just tabs. And so that's the meta skill. Like, oh God, gee, it's just like I looked at it and the whole rest of the code was crashing. It's like C++.
Yeah.
One thing breaks, it all breaks.
Yeah,
says, well, this statement doesn't end. It doesn't end. I could see the end right here. And then I finally went, oh, gee, it's a stupid indentation. And I knew it was right because it worked before.
Yeah.
And so I played around with it. I took the complexities out. I put in like return 1. And I did the tabs around. It worked. I'm like, oh, so that's what it was. It was the dang standard had changed. And see, I know that generalized problem is a problem for all programmers using this language. I suspect
a lot of
an essay on that, but it's unable to know that and apply it in an actual code base.
Yeah.
So it's extremely powerful. I still believe it's an amazing productivity tool, but it worries the crap out of me about the little edge cases that aren't apparent, the sharp edges.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you probably need to develop some little spidey senses, like the whole, even that trying to get the -H to work for help, to be the internal help, not the external system help. Like that is something like I might go, okay, obviously, Grok, you keep messing this up. You don't get it. I might just turn to a whole nother query, like open up another browser and just
ask that kind of thing. As a coder, you sometimes go, okay, well, maybe I could spend a week on this, but there's no help on it. If you want help, just read the stupid manual, okay?
That too.
No longer do we do this because the effort's not worth the value. And so what I've done many a time, you probably have too, is I've changed the actual architecture of things based on not only speed. I'm not talking about hacking. I'm just talking about, it doesn't have to be the way I envisioned it to begin with. It can be a different way and run just as fine.
Yeah, actually, just I was running some tests. I was making some super admin changes, so to Blazemark and over the weekend, and there was one funny super admin query that the test was failing, and I'm looking at it. It was essentially browse all pre-plans, and I'm like, well, that's fine in my little, test world where there's, a few dozen. Like, in other words, across all organizations. So if you start having more than 3 organizations, or, suddenly it was, let's map 7,000. No, let's not. I saw that happening, locally, and I just freaking killed it. I'm like, nah. And then I immediately went to that menu choice and I said, we're not doing that. Yeah, we never need to see that. That's just going to kill the system. And so, that was a case of, it might have been fine, 12 years ago to think of it like that, but Yeah.
And we assume that other people have the values that we do. When I worked at Alcatel-Lucent, they were porting some C++ code from one modem to another, and it was a different, I guess, framework. And so they were having to do just this type thing where you go in and like, oh, I need a function like this, and you get it to compile, and it's the same code, but you're actually manually retyping it back in. It was like tens of thousands of lines of this stuff. And
Oh, wow.
so I
Wow.
came out, I'm like, guys, do you need all this first? But I'm sure you do because it ran before. But couldn't you just write a tool that would like somehow, fix the important things and leave a fewer things broken? Or this looks like it's something that could be automated. And the guy told me quite honestly, he's like, well, why would I want to do that?
All right. I'm getting paid.
And I did not have an answer for him.
Yeah.
I
Because
guess
it's, yeah. Because you'd rather be doing something more knowledge, knowledge oriented than
yeah, well,
brute force.
aren't you more miserable? It's like, the answer probably would be, yeah, but I'm feeding my family and paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
One more thing. Melissa asked me this morning. She's like, okay, what are you going to talk about in the roundup? I'm like, oh, I told her about this conversation we just had. And she's like, oh, grok. All the time you're talking about grok. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I am talking about it all the time. I said, but it's just amazing to me. Yeah, I wrote about this context stuff 10 years ago, and now it's actually occurring for everybody. It's like, wow, I might get the right spot at the right time. I have got this thing covered. I know how to fix it. This is wonderful. But it used to be that you could work like 50 programmers and build this 20 project file with 1 million lines of code, and then bring a new guy in, and he's like, oh my God, drop him in. He's just immediately lost. There's this error, well, this error, this is not this. I said, now one person can create that same thing like a weekend. It's true.
The savings are immense.
Yeah. So, I can guarantee you that these vibe coding examples, I wrote an entire game by putting 6 prompts in and taking a picture of my cousin Sue. No. Yeah, it looks fine, and when you hit an edge case, good freaking luck to you. Now you're that corporate guy walking,
Right.
except for you. There's nobody to go talk to about why this is structured this way or that. You can talk to Grok; it'll talk to you forever. It's not gonna fix anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just wow, we've automated unproductivity.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I saw JetBrains is having a new release, and I think, maybe the more super powerful AI thing will be able to sort of live in your code and digest it and give you more to your point about you drop somebody new in, on a big pile of code. How do they get, depending on how good your code is, the onboarding time, will vary. Your mileage may vary, but I'm interested in
I don't
that.
want to give too much away because I don't know if I'll get there, but I am a big fan. Since AI is so good at just churning through all this stuff, I think, I'm a big fan of composable tests, that millions of little tests that Grok makes, because a lot of these tests are just acceptance tests that any kind of code, the stuff I'm doing right now, I can use as a framework because any kind of program that does in this environment will need it. And AI is perfect, but once you get it going, you can just, whatever thing you have, and if it could add things onto this, like, oh, by the way, I want a new option on the command line, and still have
Right.
the other tests run,
Yep.
that's where you want to go.
Right.
So one more story about AI. I think we'll probably run out of time, but this was interesting. I guess this is the Grok day, unfortunately. Okay, so Eric Weinstein, guy I follow on Twitter. Eric's a twin PhD in I think math, partial physics and economics, math. Twin PhD, smart guy. Very opinionated, has unorthodox opinions about stuff, which is fun. But he's kind of like Stephen Wolfram. Whenever he comes out and actually makes a sort of assertive statement, like physics has not made progress on the underlying standard model in 50 years. Oh, the community just goes nuts on it. And it's all ad hominem. Oh, he's just a kook, whatever. And so I know Eric's getting tired. And you just can't go to Twitter and say, hey, by the way, the standard model hasn't changed. Because no matter how many paragraphs you write, some famous guy is going to respond, well, you're a pooty head. And then it's like, you're done. I mean, it's just, you're done. You cannot have an in-depth conversation. So what Eric did, which I love, he used Grok as a conversational foil. And so he did this, hey, Grok, hey, I'm a pretty dumb guy. I'd have this idea or whatever. And so Grok kept replying back, oh, no, actually, this was true. Oh, well, what about this other thing? Oh, no, this is true. And so Grok kept giving links and affirming that what he's saying was actually true. And by doing it that way, he covered like 40 points in depth. And if you disagree, fine, go do it. Go in depth and have an in-depth conversation. Don't just throw it off and get rid of it. And I'm like, that's cool. That is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, good tactic.
Yeah, that's. I think the mistake here would be thinking that Grok was correct. No, but it is correct in finding areas where you might be weak and just doing a thorough conversation. That's just really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, John, I think we're out of time here. I'm sorry. Any media, books, or anything this week?
None other than the partial watch of the new season of Wednesday. We started it back when we were in. I was speaking in Cape Town, South Africa, and we, stumbled on it, and we're watching it there during the power outages off and on. And it's a cool little series, and so looking at
continue to watch His Dark Materials in the last season now. It's good fantasy. It's good stuff. I watched Elevation, which was a movie, and oh my gosh, Greenland, also a movie, both on Netflix. Both were sci-fi movies. Elevation was a cool concept, kind of like all movies anymore, in the middle of the road, acceptable, but not really great. Greenland, however, was more maybe out of 100, maybe a score of 70 or so. So it was better than most, and I enjoyed it. So, yeah, I recommend both of them if you have time. Both of them are like, the end of the world is coming. Now what do you think? It's been done to death, so it's really tough even to do mediocre there. So I was expecting both of them to be quite awful, and I was going to talk about how funny they were, but Greenland was good. You'll like Greenland.
Cool. Check it out.
All right, so let me shut this thing down here. I got to turn everything. Oh. The website, real quick, the default page. Yes, there's a duck. Click on the duck. The duck loves you. The duck will take you where you need to go. Click on the duck. Stop streaming. No, keep recording. Yeah, cool. I figured it was going to be, because it was a lot of stuff. I hope that was okay. I hope it didn't. That was okay.
No, it was cool. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I like the depth.
Yeah, I had more fun doing this Grok stuff than I had in some time. And it's
Maybe I should try that for building a rag. Like a little web app based on I did ask Grok some questions about it and got some pointers, but maybe I should do some vibe coding and see
I'm
that.
interested. Is there a unit of code that you can vibe code that you don't have to worry about? I mean, that's really what I want to know. And right now, I can't answer in the affirmative. Right now, I believe whatever Grok does, I would worry about. But is there a way to do this where you can let Grok actually not, I would not use Grok to write medical software. Oh my God, or aviation software. Yeah, gee.
Right. Yes, that's a great point. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun to play with.
It's at least a great way to experiment and learn new stuff, and then figure out what you want to do.
I tell you, I would recommend for folks, anybody watching this, if you want to play with vibe coding, pick a domain you're familiar with, that you're able to fix yourself, and start using Grok. And then you'll get an idea of what sorts of things it does right or wrong. If you go out too far on the limb, and you don't really know what the implications are of the thing that you're asking Grok, when it doesn't work, you're not going to really know what to tell it to do or where to go, or what you don't even know. In programming, something doesn't work, you don't even know what the something is. So yeah, I would.
Yeah, a little bit like start with the hello world. Start with something simple and
pick any sort of domain problem and just kind of keep incrementing complexity. and something you're familiar with and language you're familiar
Yeah.
with, and just see what types of errors it makes. The context switching, there's a lot to consider there because it's LLMs are very much context sensitive, and I believe what's happening, not sure, but I believe Grok is losing track of the acceptance criteria I gave it at the very beginning by the time I got to the end.
I've heard of that. I forget what it's called, but it does have a length of. We were doing some, I guess you might call it vibe coding at the Agile conference to help a kind of a child abuse nonprofit thing that they had a issue to try to process some data so they could submit it and get some grants. So very nice, and for most of us techies, a pretty simple, when you heard the problem domain. But it was, I forget the name of the system that Paige was using. But you typed into it, you asked it questions, a thought, and then it spit stuff out. It's very similar. And he mentioned that it had a certain memory, it's in essence a certain buffer length, so to speak. So if something fell off, like I forget, I'm just going to make up 70,000 lines. You said it that long ago, it might have forgotten it by now because it just sort of goes into the distant past. And, it doesn't remember that you told it.
There's an organic thing here. Brains are not bits and bytes. We're never going to be bits and bytes. With those indentation things, I had gone to pain doing this over and over again. Every time I picked the paper, I'd get the indents wrong. So there's a trick to actually the way you type in the code so you don't get that error. But I've done this. It hurt me. I got so angry. I remember. So when it got to sort of looking like that, I remembered 4 years ago when I had that problem, and I reached way out of the current context I was in, pulled that out because it was useful, and dropped it in. And I don't see how you could do that with Grok. The pain part, the emotional attachment to the learning bit, I don't know how you could do that.
Yeah, that's a great point because most of us have run into how many spaces, the different IDEs and group, sharing, and somebody new comes.
There's a generalized form of all these problems.
That
you learn that, you get emotional because you get angry. The thing with the stupid the parameter escaping going to .NET instead of code. Oh God, they're in there too, and I believe there's a way you structure it correctly, but that's not important. The thing is that I remember this pain, and I'll do it a couple more times, and I'll never ever forget it after that. Grok is just the same Grok it was whenever. I can start a new Grok session and ask it the same thing. It'll be different code, and it'll remember different stuff. And so it's these prompt things, they're not like source code. It's,
right.
It's kind of like, hey, I'd like you to do like a riff on, oldies from the 60s or whatever. It's like, yeah, happy to do that. It doesn't,
Right.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah.
All right, Don, have a good one.
Thanks, Daniel. You too.
Talk to y'all later.
Yeah.
There we go. Ba boom, ba bang.